closely. You know how with the capital gains, how we have it right now, it's 2 out of 4 years, right?
2 of 5.
2 of 5. So, in order to avoid capital gains, you got to live in a house for 2 out of 5 years.
Right.
So we covered this, and we were talking about how the House and the Senate were doing. I thought it was 3 out of 5. Okay, so we actually covered this. We talked about this. So now what's being bantered about is 5 out of 8 years.
Right.
So if you want to avoid paying capital gains when you sell your house, you have to live there 5 out of 8 years.
Right.
So here's the problem. This is like
it's a problem already.
This is a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, this is a mess. This embodies like all the dumb shit that's taking place in politics and the short-sightedness and the unintended consequences. You know, you always hear people say the word, the unintended consequences of stuff that's going on. This one is really, really bad.
Well, sure.
Okay, so let me give you an example. So, according to the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, 25% of all homes sell within the first 5 years.
Right.
Okay. So now you're going to pay 40% taxes on your equity, or are you going to live in that house an extra 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? What are you going to do?
Live in the house.
Yeah, somebody's sitting on a house for, like let's say you have a couple that makes $80,000 a year, and they've got $100,000 in equity, and they're going to pay $40,000 of that in capital gains.
Well, that was like 15 or 20%, depending on your tax bracket.
Isn't it just your tax bracket? What, let's say 30%, 35%?
I think it's 15 or 20. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to stay in that house? Are you going to stay in that house longer? Or are you going to? What are you going to do?
I don't want to pay a capital gain.
Right.
Let's put it this way. It's like if I'm going to sell my house and get $200,000 out, and I need to put that $200,000 down to make my new deal worth, but I'm paying a 20% capital gain, which is $40,000 after it's all said and done. I'm really not able to put $200,000 down. Now I can only really put down $160,000, which might not really make my deal work.
Well,
So I mean, I'm staying. I don't want to pay that much money in taxes.
Stupid. So here's the short-sightedness. So we're looking at the new tax reform bills going through the House and the Senate right now. Frank, that is like super loud.
Well, I had to sharpen my darts.
So so basically, we're looking at how do we lower income taxes? How do we lower taxes? Well, you don't really lower taxes; you rearrange taxes.
Right.
Because you got to rob Peter to pay Paul because we still have a budget that we need to meet every year.
Right.
So you still have to come up with the same revenue.
Right.
So how do you cut
more?
Yeah, how do you cut taxes and maintain revenues? All right. So what you're basically doing is we're going to lower the corporate taxes from 35 down to 20%. Okay, that's a huge amount of money. Where do we make it up? So Congress starts looking at different areas where they can start to make money, and they say, "Oh, I know what we'll do. If you sell your house within the first 5 of 8 years, we're going to get 20% off you there." Okay? Well, there's a cause and effect relationship to everything, right? Well, I don't have to sell my house. So what you're basically doing is you're forcing my hand. The federal government is forcing my hand, and a lot of people are going to say, "I'm just not going to sell my house because I don't want to pay that tax."
Right.
So two things happen here. First of all, you're going to have much fewer people who are actually selling their house in the first 5 years. So frankly, I don't think this is going to gain any revenue for the IRS at all.
Because they're just going to wait.
Yeah, they're just going to wait. So some people will do it, but fewer people are going to do it, which means you're not going to make more money from this. Just if you were just side by side, 2 out of 5, 5 out of 8. Okay, you're not going to make more money 5 out of 8 because fewer people are going to be doing it. You make less here, but fewer doing it here. You're just making more off of fewer people. But so it's not going to work. But here's the unintended consequences. When people sell their houses, what do they do?
Buy a new one.
Well, you buy a new one, but what happens when you buy a new house? I've seen some of the numbers on these things. You're employing appraisers, you're employing pest people, you're employing pool people, you're employing
realtors,
movers, you're employing realtors and loan officers. I
Yeah.
mean, think of how much money each transaction generates.
Yeah, we've looked at that before, and I forget what the number is, but it's mind-blowing.
It's a mind-boggling
There's a
number.
ton, the credit report, everybody that works at the credit reporting agencies, all the, like you said, the title insurance companies, there's just an enormous amount of
Yeah,
people that
when you,
are
when you move
affected.
Out, yeah, when you move out, you got to get your roofs fixed, you got to
Right.
get your drywall done, you're paying
Right.
a real estate agent, you're paying
Yeah.
a lender, all the people that it spreads out from there, all the
Right.
people that support that real estate agent, you're getting your
Right.
sprinklers fixed,
Yeah,
you know, you're doing all that shit, you're hiring movers,
yeah,
and then when you move into your new house, what do? You go down to Home Depot, you buy new cabinets,
get some paint.
you get some paint, you hire a painter,
Right.
you hire a cabinet guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the amount of money that it's going to pull out of the economy. And by the way, every one of those positions, every one of those jobs, they all pay taxes.
Right.
So you're basically pulling money out of the economy. You're pulling work out of the economy. You're pulling tax revenue out of the economy.
Yeah.
I just don't see how this is going to work at all.
So if you guys are just tuning in, we're talking about the new tax bill. Of course, the House and the Senate both have their versions that have to get reconciled, and one of the things that's on the table here that's come to light is, Barry Habib called us this morning and let us know this, and Brian's looking into it deeper here, is that the capital gains when you sell your property used to be, if you're single, you're exempt up to $250,000. If you're married, up to $500,000. If you lived in your home 2 out of the last 5 years. Now they're changing that. The dollar amounts are staying the same, and they're saying you have to live there. 5 of the last 8 years. 5 of the last 8 years, which is going to seriously impact housing. Not only that, I think in the House version, because they have to reconcile these things, remember that. So certain things are going to stick from each version. If the House version sticks with this matter, you've got this being effective January 1, 2018.
Oh, yeah.
January 1. So literally you can have a guy in escrow right now selling his house today, right, who's not going to close till January 15th for whatever reason, who's been in his house 5 years, who's lived there for 2 of them, who's made equity over the past 5 years. Everybody has, right? It's gone through the roof, okay? He's going to suffer a capital gain if the House version is what's accepted. 20%.
So my in-laws are buying a house, and their escrow closes on January 7th.
There you go.
So think about that. The people who they're buying that house from, there could be 20, 30, 40,000 bucks that they may lose on the table right
That's
now.
right, right now. Depends how long they've been there.
And that's bullshit. I mean, that's unfair. You can't change the rule. You can't go basically. You can't pull somebody over and they say you pull somebody over and it says, "Why did you pull me over?" It says, "Well, you were going 65 miles an hour," and I go, "Well, the speed limit's 65 miles an hour," and then the cop says, "Yeah, but we're going to drop it to 55 next week."
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
So somebody is going into this contract with the understanding of what their tax consequence is going to be, and to up that significantly by tens, 20, 30, 40, $50,000, that strikes me as criminal.
It
It's
really is.
negligent.
Yeah.
But all right, let's think of this too, Frank. So this is going to result in collecting more money from fewer people. That's what it is.
Right.
Okay? Because less people are going to sell. What we talked about yesterday, think about this. We already have a shortage of inventory in this country.
Right.
A massive shortage. And what scarcity does is it drives up the price of whatever that good is.
Exactly.
It just doesn't matter what the good is. By the way, guys, did you know this? Did you know that Did you know that diamonds, for example, are not scarce?
Well, I know that British company came in and bought them all the mines or something like that.
De Beers.
Yeah, and they're just leaking it out a little at a time to keep the value up. But technically, there's like so much diamonds, they should be worthless.
Yeah, diamonds aren't scarce at all.
Yeah.
Diamonds are 100% price controlled by a company called De Beers out of England.
Yeah.
And they release diamonds. The other part of it is that they say, diamonds are forever, so bury your family with their diamonds, so keep them scarce. Oh, it's true. But anyways, it's total price control, so it doesn't matter what you're selling.
Yeah.
If there's scarcity, it drives the cost up. So now, if they pass this, what's it going to do to housing? It's going to create more scarcity in a very scarce market, which is going to push home values even higher.
Right.
Okay, which is going to make that whole dream of home ownership further away from more middle Americans.
It is.
But again, what we talked about yesterday as well is that higher home values has a disproportionate effect on rental prices. So rents are going to
Escalate.
continue exceeding home values.
Yeah, it's just a vicious circle.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and so we're talking about the ripple effects of this,
Yeah.
and then with higher rent prices, it makes it harder for low and moderate income people to have homes. And when you put that together with getting rid of all the tax credits that are going to help low income people, it's the perfect storm that just keeps getting more perfect.
You know, it's trippy. It's like after the crash. And again, guys, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about the capital gains changes to the tax code that are being proposed here. Both the House and the Senate are saying they want to take away the capital gain rule, where if you've owned your home for the past, if you've lived in your house for the past 2 or 5 years, if you're single up to $250,000, married $500,000, if you sell your house and get some equity out of there, you're exempt from any capital gains tax. Now they're saying you have to live in that house 5 of the last 8 years to be exempt from capital gains, which means a whole lot of people are going to have to pay a lot of capital gains going forward right away. That's what we're talking about. But what I was going to say, Brian, is it's really, really interesting that ever since the crash, the mortgage and real estate industry has been the place for Washington to dig out as much money as possible. They've, like, you think about it, after the crash, okay, first of all, you know, the CFPB comes in on a massive witch hunt. You know, how many billions did they collect? $12 billion in fines so far, something like that.
Yep.
To which a lot of those fines we know were just settlements where people knew they couldn't win any type of a legal battle, so they were essentially just stealing the money from the mortgage industry. So they're stealing the money from the mortgage industry there. Let's not forget the G fee, right?
Yep.
So we had the G fee, and now all of a sudden Washington goes, you know that G fee thing there, that thing, let's build roads with it. Let's use that money for other things. Let's grab that money and use it for stuff, right?
They use it for the BP oil spill.
Okay, so the G fees now get used for that. Oh, let's not forget Fannie and Freddie, the most wildly successful organizations in the world, don't get to keep a penny, has to go all to the government, okay, all to the government. And now, here we have capital gains, right? The one thing that we have as middle-class family, even lower middle-class family, is our house, right? It's the one thing we've got that, you know, where we can get some write-off. Oh, let's piss that away. Let's find a way to take away that write-off, right? And at least we had the caveat that if I made some equity and I sold my house and I want to go buy another one, you know what I mean? I'm not going to get burned on that equity because all I have to do is live in my home for 2 of the last 5 years, right? And if I live in my house 2 of the last 5 years, I'm going to be okay. We've made $100,000, $200,000. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get blown up. Somebody's calling in. But now they're saying, let's take that away too.
I know. The whole thing is just a mess. Hey, who's here? Hello, who's on the phone?
Was it on speaker?
Hello, are you there?
Hello? Maybe it shouldn't be on speaker.
Hello, are you there? Hello, are you there?
Man.
Hey, I'm here.
Yeah, make sure you don't have your computer on because our audio will be very delayed and it'll be very confusing. So turn your computer audio down, okay?
Okie dokie. I thought you guys were just going to have a little circus and I was going to watch.
So who are we talking with? Where are you at?
In Florida,
Okay. And what's your name?
Glenn Grant.
Glenn Grant. What's
I've loved
going
you guys for years.
Oh.
You guys call so you make me laugh my ass off in the morning and I share it with normal people.
Right on, man. I love that. I appreciate that. So, what you got going on today? What's your question or what's your statement?
I don't have a question. I just saw you guys having fun with the board and I didn't know what it was. I thought, hey, I'll call in and see what they're doing. I don't have a specific question. I wasn't even sure what you guys were doing, but I think it's great you're doing the live broadcast and you guys are great. Your info is laid out in a unique manner, which is easy to remember and interesting. So all good.
So we're talking about they're going to be changing right now in the House and the Senate bill. You know how you have to live in your house for 2 to 5 years to avoid capital gains? They're changing that to where you have to live in the house for 5 out of 8 years.
That's not good.
No, it's not.
No, it's not good at all.
No, in fact, the House version of the bill says that they want that activated January 1st. So in other words, there's probably a whole lot of people in escrow right now looking to close a home after the first of the year, just because that's how the time frame is working out. Where if the house version goes through, if they've lived in the house that they're selling for less than 5 of the last 8 years, they're going to have to pay a capital gain. And they're completely unaware of it right now. So everybody out there, including you, man, and anybody else who's got deals going right now, this needs to be looked at today. And we need to warn these people and let them know. And here's the truth. If you got a deal that's going to close after the first of the year, and if the house version is looking like it might go through, you're going to want to try and close that before by the 29th of December, because otherwise you could be looking at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000, $60,000 in capital gains.
See, I get you're getting like hung up on that right now because it's a total screw job.
Yeah.
You're just blatantly screwing somebody.
Right.
But that is such a small portion of the bigger picture.
Well, I understand. I agree. But it is a piece of the puzzle right now.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just saying, as a real estate and mortgage professional, if we've got people in that boat, we want to start, lighting the sirens for them and saying, hey, this could happen. We might want to move this data.
Well, as a real estate agent, how could you good faith put somebody into contract with a January 10th closing date right now?
Right.
Because here's what you're doing is here's what everyone wants to know. When it's all said and done, when we put all the lines together and we do all our additions and our subtractions, what's my bottom line?
Right.
That's what every seller wants to know.
Right.
What's my bottom line? How can you? And by the way, as a real estate agent, you better effing do this.
You better.
You better do this. You better say, well, it's either going to be 120,000 or 70.
Yeah.
I mean,
now when you take as a real estate agent, this all goes through. As a real estate agent, I think part of the listing presentation definitely has to be, hey, how long have you lived here?
Right.
How long have you owned this house, and how long have you lived in this house? Because, if you fall into the new category, you're going to have to tell them. I would feel obligated to say, you realize there's going to be a capital gain.
And how many real estate agents right now are saying, oh, I've got 5 people who are going to list after the first of the year. They're going to get the holidays past them. They want to move. They want to get the holidays out of the way.
Right.
And then they want to list their house.
That could all come crashing down.
Oh, it's all done.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Now, all done. You planned on these 5 deals?
Yeah.
Now they're all gone?
They're going to go, I don't want to do this now. I'm going to pay capital gain.
Now, think about this, Glenn. It's like, every transaction creates, I think it comes out to like $100,000 something every transaction creates for a local community. When you're leaving your house, you get your roof fixed. We talked about this. You get your roof fixed. You get your the dry rot done. You get your sprinklers done. The pool guy comes in. You have appraisers, real estate agents, lenders, all the supporting staff for all of those groups. Then when you move into a house, you're going down to Home Depot. You're building the deck. You're adding a room on. You're putting on solar panels. I mean, you're doing all this shit. The average transaction generates over $100,000 in revenue for a local community, and that $100,000 is also taxable. So the truth of the matter is, the goal, this is a short-sightedness of Congress, they are saying, okay, if you sell your house in the first 5 years, you got to pay your capital gains, thinking I'm going to make more money off of that. Frankly, they're not, because people aren't going to sell their houses now. But the other side of that is they're going to be pulling all that additional money out of, they're going to pull all that additional money out of circulation, because fewer people are going to be doing this and fewer people are going to be doing jobs.
They stop the sale. I mean, what's going on in your pipeline, Glenn? You got some purchase deals that are going to close after the first of the year?
Yeah, a few, but I'm trying to read the Wall Street update here, and my question is this only after the married or single exemption dollar amount is applicable to capital gains, or is it all of it?
No, this is capital gains. So
yeah, so it's going to be a different figure for a married. I don't have the numbers in front of me. It's somewhere close to $500,000 and down, somewhere around there for a married couple.
Married is $500, up to $500, and single is $250.
Right, but you're talking about the dollar amount above that. Is this going to be applicable to?
Right, but understand this, right? But if you live in a house right now for 2 out of the past 5 years, then you can go ahead and apply that. Your first $500,000 is going to be exempt from taxes.
Right.
Okay. Now what they're saying is no. Now you have to live there 5 years
of the past 8.
Or you're not exempt. So say, for example, somebody right now is selling a house and they've been there for 3 years, and they're selling their house and their close date is January 15th, 2018. Okay. and they've still got all their and they're going to make $300,000 on the house, so they don't have to pay any capital gains. Okay? If this bill goes through, as it stands right now, that January 15th closing is he's going to have to pay capital gains on every freaking penny.
Get it? Because the time that he's lived in the house has changed dramatically. And there's so many people right now that are in escrow selling a house to buy that haven't even lived in the house 8 years at all, let alone lived there 5, right? And keep in mind, you got to have lived there in the past. You got to live in the house 5 out of the past 8 years. So there's a little wiggle room if you moved out, you move back in. But basically, it's gone from 2 years to 5 years. And if we've got people in escrow right now that are under that 5-year mark, which I can bet you there's a lot.
Oh, it's done.
Okay, they're going to be. They don't get the exemption. And now the House version says.
In this type of market where we're in a vacation area, resort, etc., everybody, or not everybody, lots of people think about buying and selling every 2 years. So it's definitely going to be a big change, big effect. I'm just trying to figure out, when I looked it up, I didn't get any direct articles. You guys can have links as to where the clear articles are. I mean, the one I see in the Wall Street is not the one, because I want to forward it to and post it to our company website.
Yeah,
I got one right now with Forbes. In fact, let me sit down here real quick.
Yeah.
What I'll do is I'll post it right up here right now. And we were talking with Barry Habib earlier today about this, and we'll have more articles for you. But here's the thing. Loan officers are always trying to find great talking points for their real estate agent partners, which you should, because then you can ask for a deal, ask for the business. But this is a great talking point. I mean, every lender should be on the phone with every real estate agent right now and saying, hey, by the way, did you know this is going on right now? And, and this is something that do you have any transactions that are going on right now? Because if you do, this is something that you're going to want to know about.
Now the Senate version isn't.
And I just posted it right now.
The Senate version says that as long as you're in contract to sell your house in 2017, you're still under the old method, okay, the old formula. But the House version says no, it doesn't matter. It just starts January 1st. So, I mean, it's a pickle. I mean, just you yourself. I mean, you're Glenn, in your pipeline. You could probably look at it right now and look at a few deals that might potentially have issues. I'm sure.
Oh, okay. I think we just lost one. Hey, by the way, Ted Canto just posted something that was pretty compelling, and I'd like you to call in, Ted, if you could. Ted Canto, good friend. I'm not sure what he's saying right here. Ted Canto says, what was fucking hilarious and not so much was Barry Habib trying to sell everyone on this tax cut to only concede that it is truly a tax increase, then to end his interview with Frank with a crock of shit statement of people should know that it is not so bad, the tax increase. Yeah, give us a call if you get a chance. I wasn't privy to the last interview that you had with Barry talking about this. If it was good or bad. The more I'm looking at this, the ones who, again, it hurts the most is going to be low and moderate income folks. They're the ones who are really going to be paying the price for this. And Frank, I think you hit it on the head earlier, is I think that Congress is so quick to turn to real estate to try to find a way to increase revenues.
Right.
They just swept, as you said, I'm just going to reboot this real quick. They swept Freddie's, this is their third quarter earnings. This is last third quarter of 2017. They swept $4 billion.
Yeah.
They swept $3 billion. Hang tight real quick, bud. They swept $3 billion from Fannie. With the G fee, they're reallocating that money. They're pulling it. They're pulling money out of a whole bunch of different areas with all these new tax changes. Real estate's paying the price. Hey, who do we got on the phone? I know you're from Arizona.
Yep.
Who do we got here?
Well, so what I was commenting on Frank's interview with Barry Habib about a week ago.
Oh, is this Ted?
Yeah, this is Ted.
Oh, hey, Ted.
So he was basically commenting, going over the whole tax cut package, tax reform package, and then he started crunching out the numbers, which was confusing as heck, to only come up with that, the taxpayer will, in this scenario, would pay actually a couple more $100. But see, it's not that bad. So I'm looking at it going, okay, was this a tax cut, or did he just concede that this guy in this scenario is going to pay taxes, more taxes, even if it was only $200? It doesn't matter. They're selling a tax cut. That is not the case. It's a tax increase. They're taking away all these write-offs to only, it's $200, but that's a tax increase. I don't give a shit how they cut and slice it. And Barry was just sugarcoating the crap out of it. He was trying to put lipstick on a pig.
You know what I think is what would be a more appropriate way of terming this is not a tax cut. It should be called a tax reallocation, because if you're going to lower a tax in a certain area, you have to exempt an exemption or raise a tax in another area. Because at the end of the day, you still have to have a balance sheet that's going to pay for the shit we're spending.
Absolutely.
So it's what seems like a better approach. So what we're doing right now is we have not addressed our spending habits.
Right.
Okay? So what we're doing is we're talking about our revenue before we're talking about our spending habits. I think how they should have done this is before we deal with what our tax cuts are, they should have gone out there and saw how much fat they can chop off their budget.
I'm surprised that's not Trump's angle. I really am.
Right.
I'm surprised that's not his whole focal point. Is
Right.
chop it down, chop it down, chop it down.
Now, see, Ted, I get where you're coming from. So I'm looking at it like this. I don't know what tax bracket you're in, if you want to share that or not. But I suspect,
Definitely, I'm up there.
yeah, I suspect it's a pretty decent one, and mine's a pretty decent one too. So now, am I going to get a tax break on my personal taxes, and even if I'm paying a little bit more in real estate, so be it? At the end of the day, does the whole thing does it just wash out? Or now me and Frank, we have a C corp, we have an LLC. Shit, I think we have two of them.
Yeah.
And so, is it going to help our C corp? So we're paying less taxes there, and we can we can pull more money from the company or distribute that amongst our employees more. Is that going to offset the cost of real estate? And the truth of the matter is it very well could for us. I don't even know, Ted. All this shit just doesn't make any sense to me. But here's what I do know for sure: there are going to be winners and there are going to be losers in this.
Absolutely.
And so it's not. This is a tax cut across the board that's going to help everybody. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Nope.
Because if you're taking away from somebody,
That's right.
if you're giving more to somebody, that means you have to take that from somebody else.
That's the way it is.
Right.
So Ted, what's your thoughts on that? What we're talking about today, though, the capital gain piece, where they want to change it from you have to live in the home 2 of the last 5 years to be exempt from capital gains to 5 of the last 8.
I think that's a bunch of crock. I mean, what has it been, like 2 years? You got to go in 2 years or less, or more. So to raise it, because shit happens. Let's face it, right? You move into a house, something happens in 2 years, family size, whatever, job changes. Then you're talking about someone who's had a valid life change, and then they're going to get whacked instead of 5, versus making them wait 5 years. I don't think it's right either.
Well,
I'm middle of the board on this stuff, so it's not like I'm taking any political side. I just think that people are being bamboozled. People they're really splitting themselves along party lines here, and the reality is, it's a 3-card barley, man. They're just shuffling cards around.
dude, I've always said this. Our political situation in this country is utterly hopeless. I mean, nobody's going to be any good. I don't care who gets in and what side. It's going to be screwed for everybody, no matter what, forever. And that's just the way it is. But this new capital gains thing is really critical because, I mean, your average person, stays in that house about 5 years. That's the average time that people pretty much stay, 5 to 7.
Well,
really,
according to NAR, 25% of all sales are 5 years and under.
5 years and under. So
now all of those people between month 25 to month 60, which is the power band.
Power band of sellers.
Yeah, they're thinking, okay, there's a lot of money.
Right.
In month 25 to 60, there's a lot of money there. No, we're going to vacate those years. We're not going to do it.
They're wiped off the table.
Yeah, so the whole idea, just the one single notion of this will make us more money is bullshit. Because people are going to vacate that space. So some people will be there. So basically the government is going to be getting more capital gains from fewer people.
Right.
But what this ultimately is going to do is it's going to end with fewer home sales. Now, fewer home sales takes money out of the economy. Fewer home sales drives home values up. Fewer home sales drives home values up, that drives rent values up. Okay? And then when you drive rent values up, oh, and by the way, what we're doing right now is we're taking away a bunch of the tax credit programs that we have right now for low to moderate income people. So now rents are going to go up disproportionately. This is a man-made storm, and then we take away tax credits for low and moderate income folks. That means people who are on the lowest rungs of the socioeconomic ladder are going to find it nearly impossible to find housing. What this is truly doing here, guys, is fucking the little guy. That's what's happening here. That's how I see it. Now, I would lean more conservatively politically. Okay, I was not a fan of a lot of the housing policies under the Obama administration. I was not a fan of what Hillary Clinton was doing. Okay, so I'm not a bleeding heart. No one accuse me of being a bleeding heart liberal on this one. I try to look at things objectively, and this one objectively is a screw job. And I wish it wasn't. Right now we have the right people advocating for this, and we could be having the sky is falling henny penny conversation right now because this still has to get ratified and passed. And hopefully there's enough voices like ours that are going to be speaking in messaging Congress saying you've got to change this because nothing good will come of it. But at this point, the fact that it's in the bills is both of them is pretty damn frightening for housing.
It really is, and you know who's going to suffer is exactly who Ted was talking about is the people. You know, nobody's going to do this if they know. Well, I'm going to pay a capital gain. Screw it, I'm going to wait. Right? If they don't have to move.
Right.
But it's the people that are forced to move, the people that have to, their job, a family situation, a medical problem, whatever the case is. Those are the guys that are going to have to go and say, "Dang it, I got to pay it now," and I wouldn't have had to pay it, the old way.
Yeah.
That's who's going to get screwed.
I mean, if
I can make a comment too, that, people getting caught up in the politics of it all. They're going, "Oh, effing idiots!" And no, these guys aren't idiots. They know very well what they're doing. They're just putting lipstick on a pig. They know very, very well what they're doing. They're not idiots. These guys are very educated people. People get caught up in all the politics and all the banter. It's bullshit. Get unemotional about this because these people are knowing exactly what they're doing. They knew exactly what they were writing.
What do you assume somebody to be stupid? Do you assume our elected officials to be stupid, or is
I like to think they're at least as smart as me.
You want to know what I mean? Honestly, you know what? I think I would like to consider them dumb because the alternative is too scary.
Yeah.
That this is deliberate. But when you look at somebody like Maxine Waters, I'm like, no, they might just be that dumb.
Yeah, there's definitely some. Remember the one guy who was worried about the military base on Guam because he felt if it was on one side of the island, he felt that the island was going to capsize?
Ted, have you seen this?
Have you seen that?
No.
Oh yeah, I forget the congressman's name. It was, honest to God, true story. He was talking
I'm going to post it right now.
He was talking to.
It was a congressional hearing. He was speaking with an admiral, and we were adding additional U.S. troops to the island of Guam.
I think it was Guam.
And he was asking him how big is Guam, and he goes, it's a very small island. And a congressman asked him, and he was dead serious. Oh, there we go. He goes, are you concerned the island is going to capsize, flip over, because there's too many people on it now?
Right. He was literally asking him if Guam would tip over and capsize into the ocean because we were putting too many forces on one end of the island. This is a guy in Congress.
Okay, let's put this on right now. Let's see if they can hear it.
Yeah, one sec. Let me fade it over to a different view.
Watch this, guys. This is unbelievable. You're gonna think this is a joke. It is a joke, but it's not a joke.
Here we go.
All right, here we go.
That
They can't hear it.
Can you hear that? Watch this, guys. This is unbelievable.
level
You're
is
gonna
what,
think this is a joke.
12
It is a joke, but it's not
miles
a
from
joke.
shore to shore, and at its smallest level,
Can you hear that?
or smallest level,
You're gonna
what,
think this is a joke.
12
It is a
mile
joke.
location, it's shore, and 7 miles between one shore and the other. Is that correct?
I don't have the exact dimensions, but to your point, sir, I think Guam is a small island.
Very
relatively.
small island and about 24 miles, if I recall, long. So 24 miles long, about 7 miles wide at the least widest place on the island and about 12 miles wide on the widest part of the island. And I don't know how many square miles that is. Do you happen to know?
I don't have that figure with me, sir. I can certainly supply it to you if you'd like.
Yeah, my fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
We don't anticipate that. The Guam population, I think, currently about 175,000, and again, with 8,000 Marines and their families, it's an addition of about 25,000 more into the population.
The whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
We don't anticipate that.
About this for a second.
Wait, are we back on?
All right, guys, I want you to think about this. Okay.
It's your turn.
Now we're discussing the intelligence of our elected officials. You just heard Representative from Georgia, Hank Johnson, asking an admiral before Congress if the island of Guam was going to flip over due to the extra weight of additional U.S. Navy personnel on said island. Can you effing believe it? Isn't that the greatest thing in the world? So yeah, you know, I mean, it's more comfortable for me to assume that they're stupid than they are malicious. You know what I mean?
House is on the other side of the island.
All right. Well, hey, listen, man. Thanks for the call, Ted. I appreciate you clearing that all up.
All right, guys.
All right, later.
See you later.
That is like the best thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, that was one of the funniest ones we've ever seen.
Oh, hey, I closed out 18 too.
You did?
Yeah, I got a double, and I
Oh,
got a
you
single,
dog.
and I got a single.
Man.
So, anyways, guys, I mean that's a massive. This is a massive issue, and it's going to have unintended consequences. You know, we've been doing this stuff for 10 years now, and I mean, I can't think of anything that we've discussed that hasn't come true. The only thing that I think that we've prognosticated that we have not seen is I anticipated a rate hike earlier than we've had right now. You know, I really thought at this point rates would be higher than they currently are. But you're going to start to see the Federal Reserve pulling money out of circulation, and you know when they start doing that, we are going to start to see rates that are going to start to jump up a little bit. But I think, you know, here's the thing: there's things that are outside of our control. You know, we discussed this yesterday. You know, houses burning down. You know, earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes ripping the shit out of neighborhoods, and we've seen a lot of that going on. We can't control the effects on housing. And I don't know if you saw this either, but the hurricanes that we had suffered this year have added about 3/8 to your rate sheet. 3/8.
Oh, really?
Yep, 3/8 in fee to your rate sheet.
Wow.
See, 3/8 in fee, not in rate, but in fee. 3/8 in fee. I mean, that's something I think everybody can kind of, you know, we can deal with that. But when you start, you know, passing laws, rules, and regulations that, you know, screw up housing, you really have to think about it. You know, in the build up to 2008, we've discussed this before. You know, we had in the year 2001, Congress gave HUD the authority to determine what affordable housing rates that we should have in this country. How many loans that Fannie and Freddie are going to hold on the books? How many have to be low to moderate income or high risk loans? Then it was determined to be 38. You know, and after that, HUD moved it up to 41, 42, and went to 48, and it got up to 53%. So the government made a mandate by 2008 that 53% of the loans that you guys had to write had to be low, moderate income borrowers, which are basically high risk loans. I mean, you don't make a lot of money, you have a higher chance of foreclosure because you don't have wiggle room. So, you know, we had a congressional mandate, and we had, you know, government oversight that basically guaranteed that we were going to have some type of housing crisis. I look at this shit going on right here. This is guaranteeing we're going to have another damn housing crisis.
This is brutal, dude. And it's in both the House and Senate bill. I mean, it's too late. This is going to go down, right?
Well, I don't.
I mean-
I hope not. So the other one is your interest tax deduction. It's being lopped from $1 million to $500,000. I don't mind that one. That's okay. Because you're not hurting the little guy here. If you have a
Right.
mortgage over $500,000, you might have to pay a couple more taxes. I'm okay with that. This is going to hurt people like me and you.
Right.
Okay, but I'm okay with that. Then the housing bill is going to limit the property tax deductions at $10,000, while the Senate bill is going to allow
Take it
no
away
property
completely.
tax deductions.
Yeah.
Now, I don't like that
I don't like that either.
because that starts screwing the little guy.
We have no write-offs.
And then when we go down to the bottom here,
on.
when do you have to live there 5 out of 8 years? And this, by the way, you're not going to be able to write interest off on second homes anymore.
Right.
You're not going to be able to write your interest
HELOCs.
off on HELOCs or any
Right.
second mortgages that you have right now.
Right.
So basically, all the benefits of owning a house or getting into the housing game is fundamentally being taken away from us right now.
Well, let's be honest. For most people,
And hang tight, your caller, just 1 second.
Okay.
all they have for write-off, if you're self-employed, a business person, there's write-offs, right? But for your average guy working somewhere, the only thing you possibly have to write off to save some money on taxes is house-related.
Well,
It's home-related,
and when-
it's
when-
all being taken away.
And 80% of your average Joe's wealth is basically in their house,
house.
And you start eroding that foundation. It's not good.
Yeah, like, it's not worth it anymore.
Hey, caller, who do we got? and Where are you calling from?
You
Hey,
got-
it's Joe Parsons.
Hey,
Hey, we got Joe Parsons here. Joe, great, we had Joe on the show. I'm sure he's got a couple of thoughts on this.
Me? A couple of thoughts? I may have one or two.
What are your thoughts on this? Let's hear it.
My tip, we've already talked about this, but I think it's worth talking about some more, at least mentioning some more. And that is, there's one provision in HR 1, the House bill, that eliminates mortgage credit certificates. It's in the page 76 of a 460-page bill. So kind of nobody even almost knows it's there. Well, more and more people do because I've been kind of banging that drum. For anybody who doesn't know, mortgage credit certificates allow a first-time buyer who gets the certificate to claim 20% of the mortgage interest they pay as a tax credit. They get that for as long as they live in the house. It's literally a 20% discount of the interest rate. We use that credit as qualifying income. And we've already seen the first. I've seen the first casualty of that, where a client, low-income client, whose loan had already been approved, and because of the uncertainty about what's going to happen with the tax credit, lenders like my lender, Caliber, have said we can't guarantee that they're going to get the credit, so we can't use it for qualifying income. So a loan that he'd already been approved for, now he's not approved for; he's declined.
wow, already.
Yeah.
Now, are there income limitations on that? 80% median income for your area. I mean, how do you qualify for it?
So to put it into perspective, in Alameda and Contra Costa County, which is my main sphere of operation, maximum income for a single person is $125,000 and some change. For a family of 3 or more, it's $146,000.
And you're just real quickly, so everybody knows, you're in a high cost area.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So the maximum price out here, maximum price is $585,700 in Alameda, Contra Costa County. In Contra Costa, that's half of the inventory, the active inventory. In Solano County, where this guy's buying a $200,000 condo, the income limits are like $88,000 give or take for a single person, if I remember correctly. So it is something for low, $146,000 a year in the immediate Bay Area. That's moderate income. As crazy as that sounds to a lot of people. But here is what we can do. So the status of these bills right now is that they're in conference committee. So the House and Senate bills have to get reconciled. They get slumped together into one bill. Now, between these two, they weigh in at 190,000 words. And many of the senators and Congress critters that have voted for these, they didn't read the bill that they voted on. They rely on their staff to tell them what's in there, and they rely on the assurances of leadership, Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell. So they just go ahead and vote for it. It'll be fine. and some of the promises that were given to some of the senators, like Republican senator from Maine, my home state, Susan Collins, was getting a bunch of assurances from Mitch McConnell about Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. Yeah, we won't touch those. That's the deal for you to support this. And then that deal suddenly evaporated and everybody had a short memory about it. So there's probably 2 or 3 weeks of negotiation and haggling in the conference committees to try and put those things together. So I spent a couple of hours Sunday with the congressman, the representative for the 15th district, which is where I live, Eric Smallwell, Representative Eric Smallwell, and he was not. And my whole goal was to make him aware. He was not specifically aware about that. Everybody's talking about the limitation of property tax, state income tax you won't be able to write off, and of the limitation on mortgage interest, which is going to either stay at $1 million or get cut down to $500,000, which kind of sounds ludicrous for people that don't live in high-priced areas like this. But for here, it's not a disaster, but it's definitely not good. An awful lot of people are going to be paying higher taxes if this thing goes through as it is with either of the proposals. It's worth talking to our representatives, to our elected representatives at the stage.
All right, so I'm looking at this thing, and you're a leftist California communist pinko.
Of course.
Ask Joe what he thinks of that too.
Okay. And I'm a heartless conservative, and I think we come down on the same line on this. I mean, you would say that this is coming down disproportionately hard on housing, no matter how it ends up. Don't you think so?
I think it is. See, here's how they justify it. There's a couple of ways that they justify it. One is that only 30% of taxpayers have been itemizing their deductions. And it's only by itemizing deductions that you get the benefit of real estate, of mortgage interest, property tax, and state income tax deductions. So by raising the standard deduction from $13,000 that it would have been for going into 2018, if the law was not changed, $13,000 for a married couple to either $24,000 or $24,400, there are fewer benefits potentially for somebody to itemize, for a homeowner to itemize their deductions. But with that said, in my nearly 4 decades of being in the industry, I don't see the tax aspects of real estate to be really big motivators, big drivers of people's decision to buy. They want to buy because they want to be a homeowner. They want to, protect themselves against rent increases, private ownership, and all the other kind of stuff that's really, really important. But there are things that they have stuck in, and the way they pay for a lot of the tax cuts that, by the way, are permanent, like the corporate tax rate going down is permanent. The tax credit that owners of golf courses get for what's called environmental easement for promising for as long as they don't build on the golf course. Thank God the tax credits for golf course owners stay. Man, that was
okay. So hold on a second. Do you know anything about how this is? We had a good question up here. I forget who asked it. But do we know what this is going to do to 1031 exchanges? I think it was Drew Peterson, who I thought was in jail somewhere over in Illinois. So we don't know anything about a 1031 exchange.
I haven't seen
no idea
anything.
what the story is on those.
And Kathy Ryan O'Shea brings up a great point. She says housing is a forced savings plan. When they get older, they sell. That's the retirement money when they downsize. And that's exactly what you're taking away from these people. This is what you're hurting. This is your forced savings. This is what we do to retire. I mean, shit, I am living this right now with my in-laws.
Right.
My in-laws are pulling $250,000 out of their house. They get $3,000 from a retirement plan, and that's all they got. That's all they got until they meet the great guitar player up above.
Yeah. All right. Now they've been in their house. They're under the new guidelines. They'd be okay. They live there more than 8 years and live there more than 5.
They would, but this is interesting. So they're closing on the 15th of this month, which is like next week.
Yeah.
The house that they're buying is closing on the 7th of January. So those people who are selling, and by the way, selling in the senior community, who knows how long they've lived there for?
Probably haven't lived there,
I mean, this could hose the seniors. I mean, I'm not seeing a whole bunch of real, upside about this. Let's see what else. Kathy Ryan saying, hang tight real quick, says, if a buyer no longer wants to own due to this, they will not by nature sock away $1,000+ a month for over 30 years. Then what? We'll have poverty galore with sickness and aging people and no roof over their heads, not even a rental. Well, this is one of the ancillary things we're talking about. This is going to have an effect on home prices. It'll push them up. This is going to have an effect on rents, which is going to push those higher. And when you take away all the tax credits and the MCC programs and shit like Joe's talking about right now, I mean, this is truly the perfect storm for low to moderate income, underserved communities across our country. I mean, it just is. So we rob Peter to pay Paul. It's not we're not dealing with tax cuts. We're dealing with tax reallocations here. Now, who's getting the benefit and who's paying the cost? I don't know the whole plan well enough to give you that answer, but what I can tell you, when it comes to housing, especially low and moderate income folks, they're big losers in this thing. That's just how I see it.
I actually put together I created a spreadsheet to compare our current, for different scenarios, to compare our different tax schedule with the House proposal and the last Senate proposal that I saw. And where either one of them hurts is for moderate income people in states that have a state income tax. All but 7 states have a state income tax, and high real estate values for high real estate taxes and large, comparatively large mortgage interest deductions. So California, Oregon, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, D.C., all of those, Virginia, all of those states that have comparatively high values, those people, the homeowners there are going to have a rude surprise because they will pay more in taxes. And on top of that, what they've done, where they've increased the child tax credit. So we currently have, where you've got kids living at home, it's $1,000 a month tax credit, meaning it comes off the bottom line of your taxes. The House proposal says that they're increasing the credit to $1,600. The Senate version says increase it to $2,000. Hooray! Yay! That's great. If you got kids, yay! But what they've done is they have sunset those provisions in 2025, so they're temporary. And the reason that they did that is that they can't let the projected deficit go above $1.5 trillion. And they can say, well, we think it's going to be revenue neutral. There is nobody other than Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan that I'm aware of who are saying, oh, yeah, it's going to be revenue neutral. The OMB says it's going to cost between $1 trillion and $1.4 trillion added to the deficit over a 10-year period. So since they cannot go over $1.5 trillion, the law does not allow them to go over $1.5 trillion, what they've done is they have sunset, like the child tax credit, they turn those off in 2025 so they can stay to that $1.5 trillion.
Hey, Joe. And let me ask you this. Has Trump done anything good since he's been president?
Sorry, say it again, please.
Has Trump done anything good since he's been president?
I'm not going to step on that particular third rail because I know that many of my friends continue to support Donald Trump. So that's not a. There are many people who would say he's done this.
Just will you throw a guy a bone? Will you throw him a bone? Say this was good. This was good. Just throw him a bone. It's not a third rail. Just throw him one bone.
No, anybody who knows me at all knows that I am not a supporter of this president for a host of reasons. The people who are still, the 32% who are still approving of him.
One bone. One bone, Joe. One bone.
What? Say what?
One bone. Hey, Joe, listen, we're gonna wrap this up here, dude. I totally appreciate everything. We got another caller who's coming up. Thanks a bunch, Joe. Hang tight.
Okay, dude. Always good to talk to you guys. Hey, Frank, you're looking awesome too, by the way.
Thanks, brother. Good to talk to you.
You've resurrected that little blog that you had. I'm glad you're doing well and you're looking good.
Thanks, brother. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, we could do that forever.
Oh, Joe, he'll go. He'll go.
Isn't that
Yeah,
funny?
yeah.
Throw him a bone, just one bone.
Just one bone. Just one. Well, we're pretty much.
Oh,
done
too
here.
funny. All right, so let's just see our closing thoughts here. Let's see. How much money would you pay per year will be generated from the recording fees in California? Yes, in California we've increased to I think it caps at $200 per transaction. Again, doesn't hurt anyone but the little guy. This bill is being written by hedge funds and force increase on rentals. Yeah, okay, Eric Helmers, that makes perfect sense to me. And by the way, I don't know if people understand this, but most all bills that are written by interested third parties.
Yeah.
So you're not having your staffers do it. Now, you may say that your staff is doing it, but your staff is having help from somebody who's giving you an outline of what needs to be in it.
They're just compiling data.
The interested parties, absolutely. That's exactly what's going on. So, anyways, this turned into kind of a bitch session, but I got to tell you, it's frustrating what's going on right now. We can do better than this. I do agree with Joe in one sense. Well, in this one quite a bit, but reach out to your congresspeople. Tell them this has to change. I just saw one senator had actually posted, I forget what it was, but posted about the number of calls and emails they had received on a topic. And she's like, wow, you guys are really passionate about this. So I know when we get our collective heads together and we do reach out to our congresspeople, they'll take heed. And, again, just one side note, I think the single most important thing to a senator, and this is how jaded I am, is not to do what's best in the country, but it's to do what's necessary to get reelected.
Mm-hmm.
And by sticking it to the middle class like this, when this starts to, maybe not in the midterms, but maybe a couple cycles down the road when we start to feel the pinch of this, and this is going to be a talking point that's going to get people kicked out of office. And so, for their own, self-interest, they need to take some of these things out of, the current tax bills because it's gonna have a bad effect on real estate lending.
It's gonna be terrible.
All right, guys. Hey, if you're meeting us for the first time, go ahead and like the Frank and Brian page up top, and so you will get notified every time we have one of these little get-togethers, which is every day at 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We love it when you call in. It's so much more interesting for everybody. So make sure that you've got topics or things you want to talk about. Make sure you call in. And if you want to, or if you have something specific that's specific and is going to be a deeper dive and you want to participate on a larger level with the show, reach out to us, leave us a comment, leave us a private message on the Frank and Brian site. With that said, we will catch you tomorrow, or mañana, as the French would say. All right, have a great day. Thanks.